Hello, welcome back to Bus Stop. Let us find a picture at a bus stop to discuss on this fine day. Assuming it's a fine day. Hope it's a fine day for you. And let's talk about this one. Okay, so this is of the Diamond in Richmond, Diamond District, I guess. Yeah, I believe the baseball stadium is called the Diamond. I'm embarrassed to admit that I've never been to a baseball game in my 10 years of living in Richmond. Sort of a rite of passage, I suppose. But this photo has a bit of, it's not social commentary, but I don't know. It's the way that I always thought about this picture was that it speaks lightly of the fact that these pictures are taken at bus stops. Part of the quote unquote rules of this series is that I never want to photograph the bus infrastructure in any way. I don't want pictures of buses. I don't want pictures of the signs themselves. I don't want a sign across the street. I don't want the benches. I don't want the shelters. I don't want to ask people to make portraits of them if they're waiting for the bus. In any case, all that is to say that I am not highlighting the bus infrastructure or even really commenting about public transportation in this series. It's about the city. It's not, the bus stops are essentially incidental. I could have made a very similar series if I had decided to take a picture at every stop sign in Richmond, but I think that would have been a little bit harder to keep track of because stop signs aren't inherently numbered. So tuck that thought away for later. This picture becomes richer when you consider the fact that all of these pictures were taken at bus stop. The reason that is because this fence is relatively intact everywhere but the immediate point of this bus stop. And so it's almost a desire path that originates from the stop and heads towards the baseball stadium. It crosses this massive gulf of a parking lot between Hermitage Road and the baseball stadium there. And so just the fact that this fence was essentially torn down, decimated, ruined, and stepped over was entirely because there was a bus stop here. That's not really, that's just like a statement of fact, I guess. If you went and looked at this road, the whole length of the fence, like I said, it's relatively intact except for this one spot. And so the fact that it says, the little green lot sign is more of a just convenience, I guess, just kind of giving your eye something to land on in the foreground as you wander over, just as the riders of the bus wander over the fence. Your eye too will wander over the fence and towards the stadium. And so I also want to avoid like it when I'm photographing in not as nice areas of the city. I don't want to just point my camera at trash and ruin and just like do a poverty tourism thing. So I didn't take a picture of this just because it's like, ooh, it's a ruined fence. That's interesting. It's not inherently interesting. I bounced the interest off of the idea that this is a bus stop, and so that's probably why this fence was down. So that's more or less what I was thinking as I made this. Compositionally, it's a fairly straightforward photo. We have this leading line, sidewalk crack kind of heading in and passing over these bits of trash. And again, you got a nice sandwich cake of texture, nice layer cake of texture rather, as this fence comes in and folds down. And chain link fences, whether intact or mashed up, have always been a long-standing subject matter of landscape and city photographers. I won't say it's like an awesome subject or anything like that, but again, I was somewhat at the mercy of what is at the stop that I decide to photograph at. So, and then it steps back into the Diamond visually. Again, welcome back to the Diamond. Yes, it is the Diamond. I feel bad that I didn't remember that implicitly, but yeah, we're getting this whole area is like, this is going to look completely different in the next 5 years or so. They've already begun construction on a replacement to that particular stadium, as well as a whole complex of different buildings around this area. And so part of the reason that I did this series is to sort of capture this moment of time in Richmond. We're a growing city, and so the texture of the landscape is changing. New buildings are coming up, old buildings are coming down. And so anywhere I choose to point my camera will probably look different in 10, 15, 20 years. You can't like totally perfectly anticipate the nostalgia of like what will look. You look back at pictures taken 100 years ago in Richmond and you can kind of pick out somewhat familiar buildings or somewhat similar vistas. but then a lot of it just looks completely different. And so you can't always anticipate what's going to totally change and what's just going to change a little bit. But I always enjoy taking a picture like this, which is largely empty of all but one or two identifiable things, and then imagining what it could look like in however many years. So the green lot at the Diamond. This was a picture at a bus stop. Thank you for listening.